Alright, working on old Briggs here again, and remember in the first video I told you I wasn't too sure what this was. You know, had a nameplate on it, and the nameplate, the focus is in, there we go. Nameplate says it's a WI. Well, I did a little research and checked the number there, the serial number 190187. And that's a W WI, but that serial number is a 1940. And remember, we looked at the flywheel. We took the flywheel off, and I tell you these numbers right here: the 1941 and January. So the flywheel and shroud could only be a couple days apart. So that makes sense. You know, I mean, one's January 1 year and one's December of the previous year, but you know, that could be only a couple days apart. But I think I solved the mystery. And remember I said I never seen a WI that looks like this because of the base. Well, this is a very early WI, and I think that's the bases they came with. They only started making WIs in 1938, around October. So they only made them for about 3 months, and then they made them full year in 1939, and then, like I say, this one comes up as a 1940. So that's where it is. So that's what we're going to call it. We're going to call it 1940 WI. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to grind the one valve, and then we'll lap them in, and we'll go from there. And I'll set you up on a tripod and show you how I go about grinding the end of the valves off. Alright. Alright. I'm going to show you how I'm going to grind these valves. You only got to take a thousandth or two off, and it's pretty critical. But what I do is you want to make the end of that valve, you want to make that as flat as possible, because valves not only go up and down, but they also rotate when they're in there. Oh, where you at? They also rotate around, and if it's not perfectly flat or close to it, then it's not going to rotate the way it's supposed to. So what I do is I get a speed square over there on my disc sander, and I put it up, and I'll clamp this to the deck. And then I got this V-block, and since these valves are so tiny, they're smaller than the V-block. Right here, yeah, they're smaller than the V-block. So I actually had to have this little piece made. Our buddy Mike made this, and this is perfectly square. He milled that out, and that'll hold that valve perfect. So what I do is I put the V-block right up against the sanding disc as close as I can, and then we just set this in here and hold it, and then we can push it right up. Can you see that? Push it right up against the sanding disc would be here, and as we touch it, we spin it and rotate it, and that'll make it pretty flat as you're going to get it in a little shop like this. So I showed you over here because it's going to be a little congested over there, and I don't know how much you're going to be able to see, but we'll set you up anyway. Alright? Alright. We might have to do it and come over and check clearance and then go back, you know, because you don't want to take too much. If you take too much off, you're pretty much screwed. So we'll see you over there at the sanding disc. Alright. We got our speed square. You get this out of your way. Got the speed square clamped down, so that ain't going anywhere. And then we just put this block up here, so that's parallel. Everything is square parallel. And then just have to take our little thing here, and I'll hold the pressure up against here with my knuckles, and then hold this with my thumb, and then I can just spin this. Just touch it and spin it. So let's give that a try. You got your ear protection on? Contact. go try that on for size. We hardly took anything off there. Alright, ready to do some lapping here. And what you need is you got to get some of this Briggs and Stratton. It's coarse. You got a coarse lapping compound in the top and fine in the bottom. You go $2.85. Probably back in 1968 or 70. Alright. Still got some left. So, also, what I got here is a lapping tool that my buddy Scoutcrafter gave me. And it had a tip on here, right here. It looks like it's for a Model A or something earlier, I don't know, but I had to make a little baby one. For these little baby valves. See, it just sticks in the little holes here. So we'll give it a try. Try and stay out of your way again. Don't take much. I'm gonna try coarse. I'm gonna put coarse on here. You want to try to keep it out of the guide, the valve guide. Anyway, sorry about that. This will be the first time I'm trying this valve machine that Scoutcrafter gave me. Stick it in there and see how it goes. Yeah, look at that. You guys see that? And when you hear it don't, you hear how scratchy it is, and then it stops. And then you just get down there and lift it up a couple times. All right, these didn't look too bad, so I'm not gonna get crazy with this. I'll take it out and look at it. Let me get a rag. Don't go away. I'm right here. And we'll see what it looks like. Okay, GH, just a little bit. Don't take much. Are you guys still with me? You see around the edge, it's got a nice little gray slot around there. Not a slot, just an engraving. So that's good. So now you gotta put the lid back on here and open the bottom. And I'll turn you back on when I get the top off, because these tops take a little bit to get off. Alright, I got the lid off the fine. The fine is almost like soup. It's real fine. I'm gonna stick a little bit on there. I know, way too much, but that's what we had on the end of the screwdriver, right? Alright. Let's try our Scoutcrafter machine here. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's not just spinning it, it's spinning one way. I'll do it real slow. Spinning one way and then spinning the other way. Okay, that should be 20. Alright. Pretty interesting machine. I had to take it out because it was all hard grease in there. I took it apart, cleaned it out, and re-greased it. And the mechanism in here is pretty cool. It's this handle here is attached to a big gear, right, the size of this, but it's only half a gear. And then you have a gear up here on this shaft and another gear on this shaft. So when this goes around, it spins it one way, then it comes around and spins this one the other way. Pretty wacky, pretty interesting. I didn't expect to see that. Alright, let me clean this up, and then I'm going to do the, that was the exhaust. We're going to do the intake, and then we'll stick these valves back in there. Alright, we'll see when we do that. Alright, got all the lapping done, and I don't know if I showed you. It's not a groove, but it's just a nice little, well, it is a groove because it wasn't a new valve, wasn't a new cut valve, but anyway, it's got a good seat now. Alright, before I put them in, it's too small and tight in there for you guys to see anything, so some of the younger guys probably aren't familiar with the way these valves are held in there. They don't use the split keepers like they do now, but it is when you put the valve in, it goes down through the spring, and here's the keeper. Not much to it, it's just like a little dish, and then when it'll be in the machine, it'll be like that, and then you have to push down on the spring. And when you push down on the spring, all it has is a little pin. I'm having trouble here because my pliers are magnetized, but it's a little pin, and you push down on the spring, and you just put the little pin in there, and then the spring compresses and holds everything together like that. So it's pretty simple, you know. I don't know why they went away with it. I guess they must have had trouble with the pin wearing out and breaking and stuff, but pretty simple and basic, right? It must be a good system because this engine's 82 years old or something. Alright, I'm going to put them in there, and then I don't know, we're going to go from there, maybe just clean it up. Alright, we got them valves back in, it wasn't too tough. And I forgot to mention, you know, make sure you make note of which one's the exhaust valve and one's the intake, because they are marked. At least one of them is marked. See, that one ain't marked. They figure, well, if you mark one exhaust, you would assume the other one's the intake. So I don't know the difference. I really can't tell the difference if they weren't marked, because they look identical to me, unless one is made of a harder steel or something. I don't know. And also the springs. These springs just happen to be the same. You know, the same tension, the same everything. Sometimes if you got one that's stronger than the other, that's usually the exhaust. So it's just something to make note of when you take it apart. And also, if you lap the valves and everything, it's a good idea to recheck your tolerances, because they could change, depends on how aggressive you get, but they won't change by much. On this one here, I did get aggressive with the intake because I knew it was out of spec, and just by lapping it a little harder than normal, I brought it back into spec, so that was a good thing. So I was going to take this outside and clean it and get it ready for paint, but you know, it's a little too cold out, so I think what I'm going to do is just clean up these shafts. They're a little rusty, and this here I might soak a little. I'm not going to take it apart because I don't know if you can see it, but the lip here is a little compromised in two spots. You know, because there's a lock ring on there, a little spring. You could pop that out and clean out the inside, and I'm afraid that if I take it apart, you know, this edge here is going to break a little more. So sometimes it's better just to leave things alone. But I will soak this and clean it up, and then try and fit it on there. Right now it goes on that far, but that's about it. So it's probably a little bit dirty in here, and this here has rust on it. This outside part doesn't spin on here. It locks into this big drilled out area. You know, it looks like somebody drilled that out, but that's factory there, because you actually have an Allen screw, and it's got a big point on it. And when you put that on, you know, that gear lines up there, and that Allen screw goes right in that hole there. So everything lines up. Also, I'm going to try and fit this kickstart on here. I have a feeling, I didn't try it yet, but I have a feeling this nut here is probably going to be a little froze on here. We might have to do a little work, but both of these have to be cleaned up, and I think that's what we're going to do now. Clean them up and get them fit, and And then we'll wait for another day to take this thing outside and clean it up and get it ready to paint. Because other than that, you know, like I said, I'm not really going much further into this. So that's where we're at. All right, let me clean some stuff up here and try to get this Kickstarter to work. All right, another day here in Road King's garage, and we cleaned things up. We cleaned this little starter clutch up, and it should be okay. Cleaned these shafts up, and it's amazing how nice and smooth and finished they are, considering how much rust they had on there, and they're still tight. So you know, there's no pitting or nothing like that. That's what I mean by that. It's still tight. But here's the clutch, and here's that hole. Remember I told you? There's a big hole in the shaft there. Well, that's specially designed for this. Let me put you up here. For that Allen screw. Look at the shape of that thing. Not that you couldn't make another one, but you know, it was made and designed for this shaft. So that goes right in the side of the pulley here. And remember, I told you I thought I was going to have trouble getting this bolt out. Well, it came right out, no trouble. But I cleaned it out and chased the thread, cleaned these threads, and they're fine. And I didn't clean this up yet, but I did clean this up. There's a brass bushing in there, and see, that fits. Got on backwards. Hold on. All right, there we go. That's where that goes, and then the bolt goes on there, and there's a spring that goes on here, and is held back by this bolt here, and there's a cup that goes over the spring. I did buy a spring because it was cheaper than making it, and instead of making it hokey by putting a bed spring out here or something like that. So I did spend $10 on that. But you see the little flat spot here? That's where this goes and sits down there, and then this pushes the thing. So let's put the starter clutch on there and see how it works before I clean this up. Alright, I set you guys up behind me there. Can you see alright? Alright. Alright, I got this hole sitting up here straight, so if I put this on I can see it. You see, that goes on a little tight, but that's good. And it's movable there, so I line it up with that hole down there, and oh, sorry about my shoulder there. You know what? I'm glad you stopped me. I'm glad you guys stopped me. We got to put this on first, or else we'll screw the pooch there, if you know what I mean. Can't put this big thing on there when there's a starter clutch in the way. Alright. That bottom's out against the shaft there, so you can't over tighten it. Alright. We'll try this again. Take two. Stick that in there. And then just gonna move the foot there, foot pedal. Stick this in here. Guy's still there. Alright, I'm not going to crank up on it. Make it tight, but here we go. Let me go over here so I'm not in your way. And then that works good. See why it came back on its own? And then you just push it like that. Boom! And then this will come back and the spring will hold it up in that position. But everything seems to be working good. Seems a little jerky now, but don't forget there's no plate on the other side holding that crankshaft. So considering that, this is working fine. All right, I'm going to clean this up, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. I have to sort of rebuild that foot peg. So hold on, let me take it off and I'll show you. All right, yeah, to a lot of you this just looks like a rusty foot pedal, but up here where the teeth are, this there's a little plate here. Now I wasn't gonna waste my time with this because it doesn't matter, it would work without it. But this top tooth, I don't know if you can tell, but it's a little shorter than the rest. That one is actually held up against a spring, and that hits first. So for some reason they put that there. I guess it makes it smoother, a smoother operation. But anyway, there's a little spring in there, similar to what's in a pen, you know, a compression spring, and that'll make that first tooth go in and out, you know, when it gets pushed on. And right now it's all frozen solid, and there's only two rivets here holding that in. Let me turn it over, and it's not working now. So if we drill them rivets out or grind them off and try and clean that all up and probably have to put a new spring in and stuff, then it might work. If not, it's not working now. So if we take it apart and put it back together and it ain't working, and we're back where we started. So then I could take this off. This here is adjustable, this thing here, so it adjusts how far down you go or how far up your pedal is. So I'm going to take that off, and then we'll see about rebuilding that spring contraption there. Alright, I grounded them rivets off there. It was on there like that. I ground them rivets off, and this wasn't too much trouble getting that off. But it's funny, if you didn't know how these things operated, you would have a tough time finding out, because actually there's part of the spring I was telling you about sort of rusted itself to the metal there, and then the rest of it's down there. And I was wondering what kept this from the tooth from sliding out. It only slides 1/4 of an inch or less, and it just slides there. And when this is what holds it on, and it looks like there's a little dicky in there that hangs down into this little notch, and don't look like there's much of it left. So worst case scenario, we'll have to weld a tiny piece on there. But let me dig this thing apart and clean it up and see how it looks and how it works. Alright, yeah, I just cleaned the end up here and cleaned this little dog up to see if it was still functioning. And it is, you know. It just slides along here, and back here is where the little spring goes. Well, what's interesting is the way they made this little dicky. You know, all they did was, it looks like a 1/8 inch stock or 3/16 stock or something, and then let me put it down here so we can focus in. And then they must have taken a big press or something, a big punching, just hit it hard. Probably wasn't even heated at the time, and just bent that little thing out of the way. Pretty clever. It wouldn't be tough to reproduce something like this, you know, because you got plenty of room. But this one's going to work okay. So, alright. These are rusted a little too much to clean up on the wire wheel in here. All I'm going to do is make dust and dirt in here, and don't want to do that. So I'm going to wait till tomorrow, take it outside, and then hit it with a light grinding disc, and that should clean everything up. Yeah, it's supposed to be nice tomorrow. It's supposed to be like 60 degrees, 62, 3 maybe, and that's crazy because it's around February 6th, and usually around this time in South Jersey, we're kicking around about 1 foot of snow. So I'm not complaining. No, I'm not complaining. I'm glad it's like that. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to do some more cleaning up, and then maybe we'll do some painting tomorrow. It's supposed to be warm. Alright, we'll see you then. Alright, you know, we've been busy cleaning this up and sanding and stuff. This foot pedal came out a lot better than I thought it would. I mean, there are some pits in it. This is the good side. And there's some pits on this too, but you know, it's a kick pedal. You know, so it's going to be fine. See, this has some pits in it too, but cleaned up pretty good. And it's going to function nice. Here's the adjustment on it now. So yeah, we're happy with that. And we cleaned the air cleaner up. The air cleaner is in exceptionally good shape. So we cleaned this up a little bit. And this is ready to paint. And this here we just degreased it real well and hit it with Scotch-Brite. Like I say, whoever did this did it good. They primed it right. They used yellow chromite there, which is so good that they don't use it no more. And sanded the shroud. I didn't do any body work on it. I didn't take any dents out. There were a couple tiny little dents, but we sanded it and feathered out all the scratches. So I can't pick it up. There we go. So I think that'll look good. Like I say, this isn't a really total restoration. This is just a cleanup, and we unstuck it. That's all. Even though it wasn't stuck very much. So I was going to paint today. You know, it's warm enough out to paint, but it's pretty blustery. So we'll see if the wind dies down. Maybe we'll get a couple of these things painted up, and then I guess we'll start putting it back together, and then we'll have to make a gas tank for it and make a muffler for it, and so we still got a little bit to do. Alright, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to call this a video because it's probably about 30 minutes or so, and we'll see you guys on the next one, alright? Alright.